Okay, so it's Monday morning, February 8th, 2016, and this is your prophecy update. It may already be too late. I'm going to cut my presentations, my prophecy update. I'm going to cut them back to just once a week now, because we're in this period of time where anything could happen. Anything probably will happen, as far as America goes, as far as prophecy goes. Because, well, as far as prophecy goes, as far as our updates, our times together, I want you to know, number one, that I've been very, very selective with the articles that I choose to study, to show you, to share with you, to look at, to talk about. I've been very selective. Very, very selective. Because there is a lot going on, number one. There's just so much going on, it would be hard to share it all with you, okay? And secondly, a lot of it, if not all of it, is very, very bad. There's a lot of bad things going on in the world today. Horrible things, scary things, egregious things, despotic things, demonic things. There's a lot of bad things going on, and it all relates to prophecy. It's all pointing to something. It's leading somewhere. There's cause and effect, if you will, because we read in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 4, and this, 2 Timothy, that's not prophecy. Yes, it is, because it says, "But know this, that in the last days perilous times will come." I think we're there. "For men will be lovers of themselves." See, you hear that? You notice? Perilous times will come for, can we say, because? Cause and effect. Well, but notice that in the last days, perilous times will come because men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God. You could see that in your schools. You could see that in your government. You could see that in your church. You could find this at home. Okay? Perilous times will come. All these things are going to be here, and here they are. Now, you can make an argument that it's always been this way, and yes, you're right. But as prophecy goes, it's much like birth pains. Starts out small, starts out, infrequent and far apart, and then it gets closer, it gets worse, and it gets closer, it gets worse, and it gets closer, it gets worse, it gets closer, it gets worse, it gets closer until you're right there. I never had a baby, thank God. But if there's any women out there, if anyone's watching, you understand what I'm telling you. The same can be said with mankind, with humanity, with prophecy. It's gonna come down to like the and then bang. Before that bang hits, before that new age, it's not the end of the world, okay? It's the end of an age. It's not the end of humanity, but almost, okay? And in future installments, I'm not going to be politically correct. If you've noticed, I've been withholding myself. I've been restraining. I've been holding back. I'm not giving you the gospel message because, quite frankly, people don't want to hear it. Now, the gospel message is the number one. It's the bedrock. It's the foundation. It's what everything is built upon. Prophecy is leading us somewhere. It means something. It's taking us, show us something. It's taking us somewhere, and it's all about the gospel. But I'm not preaching. At least I don't want to yet. But you say all this, this is nothing new, and you're right, because in Romans chapter 1, verses 28 through 31, we could see, and it says, "And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge." That's been front page news in America for the last 35 years. We don't like to retain God in our knowledge, God in our church, God in our government, God in our schools. You can only acknowledge God in your closet. You can't bring it out in public. You hear what I'm telling you? Things are getting worse. America was built on Christian Judeo principles, and now you can't even say God bless you without being sued. You can't say Merry Christmas without someone freaking out, losing their mind. We did not like to retain God in their knowledge. So therefore, perilous times will come. Do you see the correlation? Prophecy is a cause and effect, okay? God gave them, because we don't like to keep God in our knowledge, God gave them over to a debased mind. There's a lot of bad news out there. People with debased mind doing demonic things. God gave them over to a debased mind to do those things which are not fitting, being filled with all unrighteousness. You see that everywhere. It's front page news. It's in your face. Sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, and boastful. Inventors of evil things. Are you paying attention? Do you see all this in everyday life? Don't you see that? Disobedient to parents. Undiscerning. We talked about that the last time. We have to walk circumspectly. We have to discern. We have to be wise. You know, there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge. We must be wise. Okay? We got to take this knowledge and make something of it, because as we already know in Scripture, as prophecy goes, and we can see it in the front page news, technology it's exploding. We're learning more. I mean, every year our knowledge increases tenfold. Tenfold, people. Quantum computing, quantum physics, unloving, the list goes on, unmerciful, untrustworthy. That's today. That's here and now. That's prophecy being fulfilled. It's on the front page news. So when I'm looking at the news to stuff to share with you as far as prophecy goes, I've been very selective. I've been only picking and choosing, and we're not even scratching the surface. They can't even say it's a thumbnail sketch because we're barely scratching the surface. Speaking of scratching the surface, let's get into the news. On telegraph.co.uk on February 6th, and again, I'm going to supply the links for you, okay? There's an article called Debt, Defaults, and Devaluations. Why this market crash is like nothing we've ever seen before. I told you there's a window here. There's a time period between February and September where I believe that stuff is going to happen. I'm not putting a date on anything, okay? There's a wide window. Anything can happen between February and September, yeah. Prophetically speaking. Pain. Judgment. That's what I'm telling you, okay? And then telegraph.co.uk, in this article called Debt, Defaults, and Devaluations, why this market crash is like nothing we've seen before, I quote, "A pernicious cycle of collapsing commodities, corporate defaults, and currency wars loom over the global economy. Can anything stop it from unraveling?" It's a very troubling article. And using my, I'm just using my discernment, walking circumspectly as I watch the news and I pay attention. I'm not really reading between the lines, okay? But I can see what's coming down the pike. I can see what this is saying. I understand. I also remember. Let me give you a quote, okay? Now listen to me, all right? Henry Spock, Secretary General of NATO, in 1957 to 1960, is on record for saying, and I quote, "What we want is a man of sufficient stature to hold the alliances, of all people, and to lift us out of the economic morass into which we are sinking." Listen. Send us such a man, and be he God or the devil, we will receive him. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Did you see what I just said? Did you hear that? That's a direct quote. Oh yeah, but that was back in 1957 to 1960. Yeah, David, things are being orchestrated, okay? Things are happening not by accident, all right? Now, in 2011, let me give you another quote. Just a couple of years ago, a Dutch bank, I don't have a name, it just says a Dutch bank president said, and I quote, "The time has come to deepen economic and currency union. For this renewed push towards integration, we need strong political leadership." Understand what I'm telling you, okay? Pay attention. Because prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. It's smack in this. It's right there. You can't deny it. Because what we know about prophecy and, this, Antichrist, right? The rise of the Antichrist. Nothing new. I'm sure people out there have heard of, and if you haven't, Google it, okay? The Club of Rome. The Council of Foreign Relations, or CFR. The Illuminati. Skull and Bones. Bilderberg Group. Freemasons. Etc., etc., etc. Okay? There's a lot of secretive, clandestine organizations out there that have like this vision of what they want. A new world order. And they've been doing things behind your back, behind the scenes. And it's progressed so far that they're not even trying to keep it secret anymore. Okay? What I'm telling you is that there is a global orchestration of events. You hear me? This market crash coming, this economic morass is not an accident. It's not simply because of unwise choices. It's not simply because of stupid investments. It's not simply because of defaults on loans. There's a deeper reality here. Orchestration, like we talked last time about the puppet master and dancing on the strings. People behind this, in the shadows, are pulling the strings, making all this happen. I'm telling you this, okay? They were making this happen. We're entering into a serious time, a scary time. And it's not by accident. Because these global orchestrations of events by the CFR and their affiliates that are sociologically, economically, and fundamentally designed to maximize desired effects. You have to forgive me, it's still early in the morning. I haven't had enough coffee yet. But to maximize desired effects, they have an agenda. They have a goal. There's an end game here. There's a reason. Two things, okay? All the stuff that's going on is setting us up. Number one, what's going on? This is an economic pretext for war. Okay? Do you understand me? You understand history? Look at World War I. Look at World War II. Look at the economy. Okay? I'm just telling you, we're being set up. Plain and simple. That's what's going on here. We're being set up. Number one, you have economic pretext for war. Secondly, all this stuff is going on is to arrange and assist the rise of the Antichrist. Yeah. Henry Spock said, "Send us such a man, and be he God or the devil, we will receive him." This Dutch bank president, says we need strong political leadership. They're creating havoc. They're creating, I don't know a word for it. It's just a mess. And it didn't happen by accident. Okay, now, as far as the articles go, there's a lot here. And I'm not going to really get into it, but I will supply the links. And I'm going to supply it in two different categories, okay? And I want you to know what these two categories are, and then we'll move on. So, you're going to want to look down below in the description box. And as far as the articles, the links, they're going to be categorized number 1 and number 2. Okay? Number 1, it will be your socio-economics, your religious pretext for war. That's your category. This is what they're doing to set up, to bring in, to assist and arrange the rise of the Antichrist. They're using socio-economic means. They're using religious strife. Holy war. And this is a pretext for war. So I'm going to give you articles that you can read and see for yourself. You don't have to listen to me. You know, no one does anyways. But you can see it for yourself. And the second part of these articles is going to be classified in number 2. And I'll put it in the description box as well. The second one is for your geopolitical setup, your construct, your whatever. I can't think of a word. It's still early. Basically, it's your geopolitical and your new paradigms to facilitate the rise of the Antichrist. Remember, send us such a man. We're creating the conditions where all the world will accept such a man, and be he God or the devil, they will receive him. It's going to get so bad that we'll accept anything for a little peace and safety. So look in your description box. I'm going to give you the links to the articles because there's just so many. And I'm only going to give you a handful, okay? And it behooves you. You would be wise to look at them, to read them, to understand what's going on, to walk circumspectly, to use discernment. Because it's been my observation that so far we haven't been walking circumspectly. We haven't been using our discernment because, you know, I'm looking around today and everywhere I see, you know, false doctrines and new ideas. You know, in the church today, they're saying a lot of different things. They're saying, you know, there is no rapture. Forget about it. The Bible doesn't talk about the rapture. Well, excuse me, if you read 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 3 and 4, it says that in the last days scoffers will come and denying the rapture. Islam, right? Oh, you know, Christianity and Islam, we all serve the same God. And I'm hearing a lot of new doctrine. I'm hearing a lot of new ideas and false doctrines about Islam being the one world religion. People who say that haven't read the Bible. Okay? There's false teachers out there. There's false prophets. And they're going to say a lot of intriguing things. They're going to use smoke and mirrors. They'll use charm and charisma. They'll throw money at you to make you believe what they want you to believe, so they can lead you astray. But I can tell you, as sure as I'm sitting here right now, Islam will not be the one world religion. Okay. Along those lines, you can see the Pope pushing for ecumenism. Oh, we're all one, all this and all the one world religion. Here we go. It's a collage and blah, blah, blah. Number one, that's worldly wisdom. They're not using the Bible as a construct. They're not using it as a foundation. They're not using it at all. But I digress. Have you noticed in prophecy in the Bible, have you noticed America's conspicuous absence in prophecy? You notice we're not mentioned at all. Why is that? Why is that? America is the greatest country on the planet, the greatest country ever, and so on and so forth. And why aren't we in the Bible? What? Ethiopia is mentioned in prophecy. Persia, which is Iran. Libya is mentioned. The Sudan, you know. And these are all third world countries. Why isn't America mentioned? Europe is mentioned, Russia is mentioned, but no mention of America. I want you to realize this. I want you to think, okay? I want you to understand. America's not mentioned in prophecy. scratch your head. Wonder why. Well, in the next months and years, it's going to become painfully evident why we're not mentioned in prophecy. But as far as this one world religion goes, as far as this, Islam is the one world religion, I want to speak to that, and then we'll close. How long have I going? Okay, I still got a couple minutes. The one world religion is not Islam, okay? You have nothing to fear there, okay? Daniel, chapter 11, verses 36 through 39. I just want to look at that quickly and we'll move on. As far as prophecy goes, if you want to understand, if you want to hear, if you want to realize, if you want to talk about prophecy, go to the Bible. Don't go to Joe Schmo. Don't even listen to me, because there are no prophets today, okay? There are no prophetesses, because they do not measure up to the litmus test of prophecy. The Bible says that in the last days, false teachers and false prophets, we have them a dime a dozen. So don't listen to me. Listen to the Bible. As far as this one world, Islam is a one world religion, I'm hearing that in the church. I'm seeing it on the news, and I'm thinking, man, you're not walking circumspectly. You have no discernment. Because in Daniel chapter 11, verses 36 through 39, I'll read this quickly and we'll break it down. And it says, "Then the king shall do according to his own will. He shall exalt and magnify himself above every god, shall speak blasphemies against the God of gods, and shall prosper, till the wrath has been accomplished. For what has been determined shall be done." What has been determined shall be done. Did you hear that? Verse 37, "He shall regard neither the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall exalt himself above them all. But in their place he shall honor a God of fortresses, and a God which his fathers did not know, he shall honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus he shall act against the strongest fortresses with a foreign god, which he shall acknowledge, and advance its glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and divide the land for gain." Clearly, this is talking about the future Antichrist. And anyone who's who ever even dabbled in prophecy know the certain laws of interpretation. Well, you got the law of double reference, you got so on and so forth, okay? But all that aside, you don't need any scholarly wisdom. You don't need the wisdom of man. You don't need any extra biblical sources to understand Scripture. Just use your common sense. In verse 36, he says, he magnifies himself. He magnifies self above every god. Islam, do you understand what I'm telling you? Magnifies self above every god. Who wrote that book, You Can Have Your Best Life Now? Who's on TV preaching all, you watch Oprah, Dr. Phil, all these false churches and false teachers out there who are promoting self. That's a New Age religion, okay? The one world government, the one world religion, the one world economy is not going to be based on Islam. I hope we'll look at it in a couple minutes, but I'm telling you, okay, Islam is going to die with a whimper. Plain and simple. You have nothing to fear. Sure, they're beastly, they're ungodly, they're demonic. They should be eradicated, and they will be. Okay? Verse 37. Let's move on. Daniel chapter 11, verse 37. Why the New World religion will not be Islam? It says of the Antichrist. He says he doesn't recognize, not the God of his fathers, it says. it says he's going to be gay. We read it. I'm not saying that, okay? So this one world religion, this Antichrist, this supreme religious leader is not going to recognize the God of his fathers. Try that in Islam. I dare you. Okay? You see what they're doing to homosexuals in countries with Sharia law, right? That's what they're trying to promote. That's going to be the one world government, Sharia law. Okay? If you're gay and you're under Sharia law, you're killed in pretty bad ways. Okay? Not going to be Islam. You see that this one world leader, this Antichrist that we're talking about, exalts himself above them all. It smacks of New Age ideologies. Have you heard this new thing going on today? It's mostly women. For right now, it's called sologamy. People, I'm not making this up, okay? You can look it up. Google sologamy, all right? People are marrying themselves. First, we did away with traditional marriage. We totally, redefined it. It's got a new definition. You can marry, man can marry man, a woman can marry a woman. You can marry yourself. You can marry your dog. It's a slippery slope that we started upon when we allowed gay marriage. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not being judgmental, but, let God take care of that, all right? In Christianity, we're saying, well, in real Christianity, we say love the sinner, hate the sin, all right? And I have a lot of friends, really good friends who are gay. It doesn't make them right. It doesn't make... The point of the matter is, and I'm sorry, this one world religion is not Islam, okay? Because you can't be gay in Sharia law. In verse 38, it says, a god of fortresses. Now that's very interesting. That's intriguing. That you gotta want to look into this, okay? It also says in verse 38, a god that his fathers did not know. Did not know. Never heard of. Don't understand. Never comprehended. Never thought about. Do not know. And it's the God of fortresses. Now, I know I'm taking you somewhere where you haven't been before. And if you have, maybe you're... No one watches these anyways. A God of fortresses. A God that his fathers did not know. New Age religion is looking for the singularity. They're looking for the what is it? The collective, the singularity. They're looking for the singularity and so on and so forth. The New Age religion has a lot of different stuff going on. And you see what's going on in CERN? Directly attributed to New Age ideologies. Directly attributed to false worship. To Eastern mythology. To the Eastern religions. All this... A God of fortresses. The God his fathers did not know. In verse 39, I'm taking this someplace, okay? I want to get there slowly and carefully so when I say it, I have built a foundation from which I can spring off of. In verse 39, I'm using scripture, you notice? In Daniel 11, verse 39, again it's saying, the Antichrist shall act against the strongest fortresses with a foreign god, which he, underline that, he shall acknowledge and advance its glory. Okay, we have nothing to fear from Islam. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. The New Age philosophy, which is pretty much ecumenism, that's the one world religion. And the one world thing, okay, you look at the White House, you look at the UN, you look at the Vatican, they all have created offices within the last 5 years, or maybe a little bit longer. They have all created and opened offices designed specifically to greet and to accept who? E.T., our space brothers. A God that our fathers did not know. A God of fortresses. And I know this sounds fantastic. And I could be wrong. And I hope I am. Because that's just crazy, right? But we have already been conditioned to accept that. It's everywhere in pop culture. It's on TV. It's in the movies. It's on your lunch. It's on your kids' lunch boxes. They got a highway called Extraterrestrial Highway over there by Area 51, wherever. All over the planet. All throughout history, there's always been references. There's always been pictograms. There's always been some type of acknowledgement of UFOs. And I'm not saying, please understand me now, okay? I'm not saying they're extraterrestrial. I'm saying they're extra-dimensional. Because the Bible says, as it was in the days of Noah. We talked about this a little bit the last time we were together. As it was in the days of Noah. The sons of God, fallen angels, extra-dimensional beings. And if you scroll down my Facebook page, you'll see for years I've been throwing up weird and controversial and crazy articles. Okay? But it's science. It's what they're doing in science. And science, as it goes, has a very strong presence, has a foothold in the New Age religion, in the singularity, in the transhuman movement. This is all the one world collective collage of religion. And that is the one thing that you really got to look out for. Because I believe that is the one world religion. Islam, forget about it. We see in Psalms 83 war. We see in Ezekiel 38 war. They all come against Israel and they're wiped out. 5, 6 of them are destroyed. Every time that the Islam comes against Israel, they lose. Israel just expands its borders. And the Bible does say. And now I know this is not even in my notes, and I know this is controversial, and I don't want to even get into that right now, but the Bible does say Isaac I have loved, Ishmael I have hated. I don't even know why I throw that in there. It's not in my notes. Okay? But as far as the one world religion goes, as far as the Antichrist is concerned, as far as all this economic morass that is being orchestrated to help us, facilitate and to accept his coming, everything is going on. This pretext for war, this coming economic meltdown. People are going to accept anything. And they're going to throw this at us with all this scientific mumbo-jumbo that they got. Okay, you look at Blue. Have you ever heard of Project Bluebeam? I know it sounds fantastic, but there's some truth to it. Have you heard of CERN, right? You heard of HARP? We can create illusions. And so on and so forth. Another reason, I digress. Another reason why I can confidently say that Islam is not the one religion, that the Mahdi or the Mahdi, whatever they're looking for, is not going to be the Antichrist. In Matthew chapter 24, it's a very prophetic chapter. And in verses 15 through 22, we see, what God talks about in the end days, in the new temple. There is no way Islam will accept Jewish, their existence. They won't even allow their existence, let alone a Jewish temple. You see what's going on at Temple Mount the last 25, 30, 40 years? You see what's going on today? There's no way Islam will allow that to happen. New Age mysticism will. The New Age philosophy will. There's going to be a new temple. That bottom line, that's what I'm saying. And prophetically, the third temple is proven, and we can see it. And I'm not going to get into it because I've already wasted too much time. But in Daniel chapter 11:31. In Daniel, I should look at this. This is good stuff. You should look at it, okay? We're talking about prophecy. Daniel 11:31. And in Daniel 12, verses 8 through 13. Okay? Bottom line, don't fear Islam. Okay? Now, I said a lot of fantastic things, and I barely even scratched the surface. And I think I haven't yet, but I know that I can, if given the time. I can prove, or at least satisfy, a few things as far as all the questions that we may have in regards to the one world religion, the one world, socio-economic base, the Antichrist. There's only one question that's left that we can grapple with, and that is the timing of the rapture. I don't know when, but I know it's soon. I know it's going to happen in my lifetime. And if I don't die by getting hit by a truck today, I know I'm going to see it. And I hope you're going to see it too. I hope you're caught up and part of it. But that's the only question that we have left, is the timing of the rapture. And I hope, and I think we can prove the case, if I was given the time, that it predates the Psalm 83 war. It predates, by leaps and bounds, the Ezekiel 38 war. I realize I could be wrong, okay? I'm not dogmatic. I'm not trying to start a cult or anything. I'm just looking at the Bible, and I'm looking at I'll be supplying a bunch of links to articles, and you should read these articles, okay? Because it shows the construct, the conspiracy, the movement behind the scenes, the things that are leading this thing up, because it's here, it's now, it's prophecy. We are in the end days. I don't know how much time we have left, and this is probably my worst video so far as prophecy updates. I'm going to cut it back to once a week, and I'm just going to do nothing but news from here on out. I'm not going to preach. I'm preaching now because you need to make a choice now. If you're riding the fence now, you need to make a choice. Because from here on out, it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. And the delusion is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. But I digress. I believe that the rapture predates the Psalm 83 war. They're both... let me just read what I wrote down, and then we'll move on. The only question that we have left to grapple with is the timing of the rapture and the Psalm 83 war. But I believe that they both predate Matthew 24 and the New Temple by an indeterminate amount of time. And the proof for that is found in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Now, I'll quickly look at this. We're already running out of time. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 2. Actually, chapter 2, you're going to want to distinguish between us and them, okay? Because there's that mentality. It's in that writing. It's in that context. You're going to want to read it in content and in context, because a lot of people have false ideas because they don't understand, because they take things out of content and out of context. But Paul is writing to the Thessalonians. He's writing to the church. They were worried. They were scared. They thought they missed the rapture. Paul was only with them for like 2 weeks, and he told them more about the end times than our churches have been doing for the last 200 years. And when he left, people came in and said this and said that. Things happened, and it made it look like something, and they were scared. So Paul writes, and in chapter 2 of Thessalonians 2, he tells them, number 1, in verse 2, he says, don't be worried. That's what I'm telling you. That's what it tells me. Don't worry, okay? If you think that you missed the rapture, no, don't worry. Don't be deceived in verse 3. He's telling the church, he's telling the Christians to do not be deceived. We talked about it last time. Walk circumspectly. Use discernment. Be careful. Pay attention. Study. Don't be stupid. Don't be deceived. Verse 3. You'll see in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, in verses 3 and 5, he uses the pronoun, the noun, whatever. He uses the word you. He's writing to the church, and he says, you. Don't worry. It says a whole bunch of stuff about the end times, about the rapture, about the situation going on. There's a us and them mentality. In verses 3 and 5, it says you. In verses 10, 11, and 12, you're going to want to read this, people. I don't have the time. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 10, 11, and 12, he uses the terms, the nouns, the pronouns, whatever, of they and them. And in verse 12, he uses two little words that mean a lot, okay? Did not. Okay, you're going to want to look at this in content and context. Did not. Not does not will not, but did not. Okay? I don't have the Bible open in front of me. I'm not looking at this, but I want you to. Okay? And look at verse 12. It says did not. Matter of fact, let's just read verse 11 and 12. And it talks about the strong delusion. It talks about the Antichrist. It talks about the lie, the one world religion lie, the delusion that people are going to believe. And I believe it has a lot to do with our space brothers. They're demons. Okay? They're not extraterrestrial. They're extra-dimensional. And science has already proven, quantum physics and quantum sciences and quantum computing. And we have proof of extra-dimensional reality. Think about that. Now in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 11 and 12, we read, and for this reason, God will send them, not you, them, unbelievers, strong delusion. That they, again, not the church, not the Christians, but the unbelievers, whatever, that they should believe the lie. That they may be condemned who did not does not will not, but did not believe the truth. People who don't believe the Bible, as in past tense, as in present tense, But this is talking about what happens after the rapture. God's going to send them strong delusion. The world's going to be in chaos. People are going to look for answers. And along comes E.T., which we're already ready for. We're already waiting for. We got offices built and construction, and they're open for business in the UN, in the Vatican, in the White House, and every major world government has an office to accept and to promote the Antichrist. E.T., whatever form he comes in. And for this reason, God will send them strong delusion that they should believe the lie, that they may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Now, that's all we have in the world today is unrighteousness. That's how we opened up. There's a lot of bad things going on. But the strong delusion. The White House, the Vatican, the UN has offices. It's everywhere. This E.T. mentality is everywhere. We've been preconditioned. It's in Hollywood, pop culture. It's on TV. It's in the movies. It's on the internet. It's on T-shirts, for the love of God. It's on our children's lunch boxes. Come on. It's everywhere. People are going to accept it. You look at Islam, and how many how many Muslims have renounced their Islamic faith in the last 2 years and gave their life to Christ? Hundreds of thousands. It's in the news. Look it up. They won't show it on ABC, NBC. They won't show it on your main, network news because they don't want you to know. We have a Muslim president right now, and it's true. So here we are. In today's date, it's February 8th, 2016. I got to close. I've already talked too much. I promise you I'm cutting back to once a week, and I'm just going to give you like a news forecast or news broadcast. I'll just show you the news. I won't preach, okay? I want you to decide now, okay? The time is over. You cannot ride the fence. Last time we were together, I said, redeem the time because the days are evil. They're getting more evil. You don't want to be caught up in that lie. We already talked about quantum physics. We briefly spoke about extra dimensions, but these things you want to look up. They're on the computer. Google it. Wikipedia. We talked about CERN. Now you can watch on YouTube anything and everything you want to learn about CERN. Yeah, say that 3 times fast. If you want to learn about CERN, go on the YouTube, go on the internet, and you can go right to their website. I did that, and I'll tell you what, I'm telling you, New Age ideologies. They worship Mid-Eastern. Don't even get me going. I could preach on that forever. UFOs. You know, you can scroll my Facebook page. For the last couple of years, I've been telling you, I've been showing you, I've been walking you up to this point. You know, it's Mike.Perkins.376. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go to my Facebook page and look at all these articles. I've been saying this for years, and that's why I don't have any friends, okay? It sounds crazy, I know that, but the Bible says, as it was in the days of Noah. Have you read Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 5? You see what they're doing in today's technological age with the CRISPR and with it? It's here. It's now. We are in the last days. There's no doubt about it. You look at the Apocrypha, the book of Revelations, and you can see we're talking about demons. That's what they are. They're demonic. They're extra-dimensional. They're not extraterrestrial. Okay? I do not know, we may have life out in the universe because it's a very big place. But we'll never meet and greet. Not in this age, not in this time period, in the ages to come. Because I am a self-taught dispensationalist. You want to know what that is? Contact me, and I can give you some whatever, we can talk about it. I'm a self-taught dispensationalist, and I believe that dispensation, periods of time, ages, if you will, like the Stone Age, the Ice Age, the Dark Ages. We lost so much information during the Dark Ages, crazy. And now we're relearning all this stuff, and all these ecological and, you know, dig sites that we have going on, you know, for museums and all that stuff, and so on and so forth. I already spoke too much. I'm going to say goodbye now, but prophecy update, okay? Watch and pray. Pray always that you be counted worthy to escape all these things that will soon come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. We are in store for some really bad stuff. Some really painful, hard times are coming. We're going to have to go through some of it, but not the worst of it, if we pray always. And with that, I will say goodbye.